HOA demanded I pave my dirt road, county said gravel is acceptable. The dirt road shook beneath Ethan Cole's truck as he drove home, headlights bouncing off the familiar washboard texture. But tonight, something felt wrong. A white SUV sat parked near his gate, engine off, hazard lights blinking in the quiet rural darkness. He braked, killed the engine, and stepped out, feeling the cold night settle around him. A clipboard. A camera flash. A woman standing in the beam of his headlights. "Evening," she said, her voice flat, official, too confident. "I'm Marlene Brooke. HOA compliance." Ethan blinked. At 9:30 at night? Road violations don't wait for business hours. And just like that, his normal life shifted. She pointed toward the dirt path leading to his cabin. "Your road hasn't been paved. According to the updated covenant routed last month, all private access roads must be asphalted." Ethan laughed softly. "The county literally told me gravel is acceptable. I have it in writing." "We're not the county," she replied. Her camera flashed again. Ethan felt something cold crawl up the back of his neck. This wasn't a simple rule check. She was documenting everything: angles, close-ups, even shots of his tires. "What exactly are you looking for?" "Proof," she said, tapping her clipboard. "Your non-compliance affects the aesthetic integrity of our neighborhood." He stared at her. "Aesthetic integrity? My place is 3 miles from the nearest house." "Exactly. Your road is the first thing people see when turning off Ridgeline Drive. It sets a tone." The way she said it felt like a threat. She handed him a folded notice. "You have 10 days to pave. Or we escalate." He opened the paper and felt adrenaline spike. A fine. A penalty threat. A note: final warning. Final? This was the first time anyone had spoken to him. He looked up, but the SUV's lights were already on. She backed down the road quickly, tires spinning gravel. Ethan stood there alone, the night eerily quiet again. Inside his house, he tossed the notice on the table and pulled out the email from the county inspector: black and white confirmation, gravel fully acceptable for rural properties. No paving required. Someone was lying. And he needed to know why. The next morning, the air smelled of pine and dust as he walked the length of the road. Something glittered in the morning sun, small metal markers stabbed into the dirt every 20 feet. Not HOA markers. Survey flags. Brand new. Ethan crouched, touching one. No initials, no company name, just bright orange tape. He followed them, heart pacing faster with every step. They led beyond his property line. Out to the tree line. Into the brush. And then suddenly, they stopped. Just ended. No explanation. No reason. That's when he heard twigs snap behind him. He spun. Nothing. Just wind sweeping through the pines. But something felt watched. Tracked. Like someone was measuring not the land, but him. Ethan walked back toward the house, mind racing. HOA pressure. Unmarked survey flags. Late-night compliance visits. None of it fit a normal neighborhood dispute. Inside, he made coffee, pulled up the HOA site, and checked the covenant revisions. Nothing about road paving. Not a single update. The rule Marlene cited simply didn't exist. Why would an HOA officer lie? As he scrolled, a photo in the board section stopped him cold. Marlene wasn't listed anywhere. No mention of her. No badge number, no title. Nothing. Who was she? A knock on the door made him jump. He opened it to find his neighbor, Tom Huxley, a retired firefighter in his late 60s, leaning heavily on his cane. His face looked tense. "You got a visit," Tom said. Not a question he already knew. "Yeah. Last night. Late as hell." Tom exhaled slowly. "She came by my place too, a week ago. Same story. Pavement. Roads. Threats. Did you look her up? Tom nodded. Doesn't work for the HOA. They told me they never heard of her. Ethan felt a chill. So who is she? Tom lowered his voice. Someone trying to buy up land out here. Someone with money. For what? Tom looked at him with tired eyes. That's the part nobody knows. Before Ethan could ask more, Tom added, be careful. Folks who push this hard, they're not playing a neighborhood game. That night, Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Every sound felt sharper, the creak of wood, the distant call of an owl, the soft hum of the refrigerator. His road, his land, his home, suddenly all felt fragile. A dirt road shouldn't be worth this much trouble. Unless there was something beneath it. And just as he closed his eyes, headlights flashed across his bedroom wall. Slow. Intentional. Creeping down his road. He rose, heart pounding, and moved to the window. A vehicle idled at the end of his drive. Same SUV. Same blinking hazards. Only this time, no one stepped out. It just sat there. Watching. Ethan's jaw tightened. Someone wanted him scared. Someone wanted him off this land. But whoever they were, they'd just made their first mistake. Because Ethan Cole wasn't going anywhere. HOA demanded I pave my dirt road, county said gravel is acceptable. The SUV was gone by sunrise, but the feeling it left behind clung to Ethan like damp air. He stepped outside with a mug of black coffee, scanning the road. Fresh tire tracks cut into the dirt deep, sharp, like someone had floored it when leaving. Not the same pattern from last night's visit. Two different sets of tracks. Two different visitors. He crouched, running his fingers along the grooves. One set curved toward the ditch and back again, as if the driver had braked hard. Someone had been startled, or interrupted. Ethan stood slowly, surveying the tree line. The morning was quiet, too quiet. He pulled out his phone. Time to investigate. 1. The county office, First Truth cracks open. The county planning office smelled like paper and coffee from an old machine that had probably been there since the 90s. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Ethan approached the counter. A young clerk with red hair and an easy smile looked up. Morning. How can I help? I'm trying to verify something, Ethan said, laying the HOA notice on the counter. This rule about paving private access roads. Is that a thing? The clerk frowned, adjusting his glasses. Hang on. He typed for several seconds, scrolling through county ordinances. Nope, he said, pointing at the screen. Still the same as before. Rural roads can be gravel, soil stabilized, or native dirt. Only subdivisions require pavement. So the HOA can't override that? They can't override the county. They can only enforce rules within their recorded covenants. Can a private person file something that mimics a covenant revision? The clerk raised an eyebrow. You'd be surprised what people try. But anything official has to be filed through us, and nothing new has come across my desk. Ethan exhaled. One more question. Those orange survey markers, any chance the county is doing new assessments out my way? No surveys on record in your sector. Last one was in spring. You sure? The clerk nodded. Positive. If someone's flagging land out there, it isn't us. Ethan thanked him and left, tension coiling tighter in his chest. Whoever was doing this was operating outside official channels. 2. HOA office, someone pretending to be authority. The HOA office was located in a poorly converted strip mall space between a nail salon and a vape store. Inside, it smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and old carpet. A heavy-set man in a polo shirt labeled Ridgeline HOA sat behind the desk, typing with 2 fingers. He glanced up. You hear about a violation? Yes, Ethan said. From one of your compliance officers. Marlene Brooke. The man stopped typing. His expression changed. We don't have a Marlene Brooke on staff. I figured, Ethan said quietly. Have you had complaints? Fake officers showing up at homes? The man hesitated too long. We've heard rumors. What kind of rumors? That someone's showing up on rural properties claiming to be with us. Taking photos. Issuing fake citations. Why haven't you warned the community? The HOA rep swallowed. Because we're trying to figure out who's behind it. And because, he lowered his voice. Board members are being pressured. By who? The man shook his head. I can't say. But the person targeting you, they want land. Large parcels. Off-grid. Rural. Ethan felt a prickle down his spine. My land? All surrounding parcels. For development? Maybe. Or something else? The man didn't answer. But the silence said enough. 3. A quiet trap, someone leaves a message. Driving home, Ethan took the long route, winding through the forest instead of the main road. He needed to breathe, think, understand the pattern. He stopped when he saw something unnatural on the left shoulder. A stack of fresh asphalt. Just dumped there. No machinery. No workers. No tire marks. Just a mound of material, placed in plain sight. A message. Pave your road. Or else we'll start doing it for you. Nearby, a wooden stake stood upright with a paper stapled to it. Ethan pulled it free. Phase 1 roadway prep complete. Phase 1? He looked around slowly. No cameras. No people. But the forest felt like it was holding its breath. He threw the paper back and drove home fast. 4. The discovery, a hidden map. Back in his workshop, he spread out the fake citation, the county email, and photos of the survey flags. Patterns. Motives. Land value. Access roads. Something didn't add up. He needed eyes on the ground. He grabbed his drone. The drone buzzed as it rose above the treeline, transmitting clean aerial footage to his tablet. He scanned the land. His property. Tom's property. The shared road. The open wooded acres behind him. Then. A clearing. Fresh. Hidden. Artificial. Ethan zoomed in. Rows of unmarked containers. Temporary fencing. A large tent-like structure with generators humming beneath canvas. What the hell? Suddenly, the drone feed glitched, static rippling across the screen. Someone was jamming the signal. He pulled the drone back, fast, heart hammering. It returned home shaky and sputtering. Someone out there didn't want him to see that clearing. Someone with equipment. Someone organized. And someone close. 5. Nightfall, the quiet visitor returns. At dusk, Tom knocked on his door. You find anything? More than I wanted to, Ethan said. There's a clearing behind my property. Containers. Equipment. Hidden. Looks like a staging area. Tom's face drained of color. Then it's starting. What's starting? The land buyouts, Tom whispered. But it's not just land. They need the road. A private access route. Direct. Quiet. Why? Tom shook his head. Because whatever they're building, they don't want the public seeing. A cold realization hit Ethan. The dirt road wasn't the problem. It was the perfect cover. Someone wanted to pave it because the project behind the trees needed a legitimate route. A believable construction access road. And Ethan was in the way. That night, as he reviewed his footage, a soft tap hit his window. A small stone. He turned slowly. The same white SUV sat at the end of his driveway. Lights off. Driver window cracked. A woman's silhouette leaned out and whispered just loud enough for him to hear. Stop digging, Ethan. Then the SUV rolled backward into the dark. HOA demanded I pave my dirt road, county said gravel is acceptable. By morning, Ethan knew one thing clearly: whoever wanted his land wasn't hiding anymore. The warning whispered from the SUV still echoed in his skull: "Stop digging, Ethan." So he did the opposite. He drove straight into town. Today was the Ridgeline Community Meeting, an open forum where the HOA, residents, and county reps gathered. Normally, these meetings were boring discussions about fences, noise complaints, and who wasn't picking up after their dog. Tonight, it was going to explode. 1. The setup: a room filled with quiet tension. The community center buzzed with low conversation as residents filled the folding chairs. Ethan slipped into the second row, scanning the room, heart wired with adrenaline. There were unfamiliar faces, suited men in the back, hands clasped, watching everyone. Too clean cut, too still. Security? Developers? Or the people behind the fake citations? A woman stepped up to the lectern, the actual HOA president, Janet Lowe, a tired woman in her 50s with storm gray hair. "We'll begin with new business," she said. First topic: rural road compliance and pavement requirements. The room shifted with murmurs. Several neighbors glanced at Ethan. "Here we go." Janet continued, "Some residents have reported receiving notices from individuals claiming to be acting on behalf of the HOA. We want to clarify that." The back doors swung open. The sound cracked like a gunshot. Every head turned. Marlene Brooke, the fake compliance officer, walked in like she owned the place. No clipboard this time. No camera. Just a stare fixed on Ethan. He felt his pulse spike. She crossed her arms and leaned against the wall, as if she belonged there. Janet's voice shook for the first time. "Ms. Brooke, we've asked you repeatedly not to." "I'm here as a concerned resident," Marlene said smoothly. "And I have information the community deserves to hear." The suited men in the back shifted slightly. Ethan stood up. "That woman isn't with the HOA," he said loudly. "And she's been trespassing on private property." Dozens of eyes turned to Marlene. She smiled slowly, predator smooth. And then she said, "Mr. Cole, if you'd like to discuss your road, let's do it publicly." 2. The evidence drop: Ethan fights back. Ethan stepped toward the front. His hands were steady. His voice calm, but edged with steel. "I have proof this woman issued me a forged violation. I have county confirmation that my road is legal. And I found unmarked survey flags that don't belong to anyone in this room." A wave of murmurs spread across the crowd. He reached into his bag and pulled out his tablet. "I also found a restricted clearing behind my property. Containers. Machinery. A temporary structure. I flew a drone over it." He tapped the screen. The footage played on the projector behind Janet: massive shipping containers, industrial generators, a large tent with shadows moving inside. Gasps filled the room. Janet's jaw dropped. This isn't a county project." One of the suited men stepped forward. "We need to stop this presentation." Janet snapped, "Sit down. This is a public forum." Ethan continued, "Someone is staging a covert construction project on rural land. Someone is trying to strong-arm us into paving roads to give them access." He turned toward Marlene. "And I want to know who you work for." Her smile vanished. 3. The public showdown: masks begin to fall. Marlene walked slowly toward the front, heels clicking sharply against the floor. She stopped just a few feet from Ethan. "You're making this bigger than it needs to be," she said softly, but the microphone carried the threat across the room. "You broke into the clearing," she whispered. "No," Ethan replied. "I uncovered a crime." Her eyes hardened. "We warned you." The room went ice cold. One of the suited men moved forward, but Ethan stepped back, raising his voice. "This is illegal land acquisition. Intimidation. Fake legal documents. The county needs to see this. The sheriff needs to. Suddenly. The projector cut to static. The lights flickered. The back doors slammed closed. Everyone froze. Something electronic screeched through the speakers. Janet shouted, "Who killed the system?" The suited men weren't still anymore, they were moving. Toward the front. Toward Ethan. Tom Huxley, sitting on the far right side, stood up shakily. "Leave the boy alone." Marlene raised a hand, signaling the men to stop. And then she stepped closer to Ethan and spoke just loud enough for the first few rows to hear. "You don't understand what's under your land." The words hit him like a punch. "What are you talking about?" Ethan demanded. She opened her mouth to answer. But someone in the back yelled, "Sheriff's here." Every head turned. The doors burst open, and Sheriff Daniels and 2 deputies rushed in. "Everyone sit down." Daniels barked. The suited men froze. Marlene's jaw clenched. The sheriff's sharp gaze landed on Ethan. "We got your message, Cole." Said it was urgent. Ethan nodded. "Check the footage. They're running an unauthorized operation in the woods. And they've been impersonating county officials." Daniels turned to the suited men. "I'm going to need all of you to step outside." The men didn't move. Tension spiked like electricity. Marlene's voice cut through the silence. "He has no idea what he's interfering with." Ethan shot back, "Then explain it. Right here. Right now." Her expression shifted: anger, fear, calculation, then settled into something cold. "Fine." She faced the room. "We're building a corridor," she said. "A secured access route. Federal contractors. Private funding. High-clearance infrastructure." Ethan frowned. "Infrastructure for what?" Her eyes locked onto his. "A research facility." The room erupted. "What kind of research?" Janet demanded. Marlene's lips tightened. "Classified." Sheriff Daniels took one step forward. "Then it's out of my jurisdiction. And out of yours." Marlene's smile returned, but now it was darker. "We only need one more parcel," she said, staring directly at Ethan. "Yours." For the action twist: fast, precise, violent. Before Ethan could react, one of the suited men lunged. A flash of metal. A shout. People scrambling. Tom yelled, "Ethan, down!" Ethan dropped just as Deputy Harris tackled the man to the ground. A second suited man tried to bolt toward the exit, but the sheriff intercepted him, slamming him into the wall. Marlene stepped backward, slipping toward the side door. Ethan saw her. And ran. He shoved through the crowd, voice cutting through the chaos. "Marlene! Stop!" She burst through the exit into the alley behind the community center. Ethan followed. But when he stepped outside, she was gone. Only the white SUV remained, idling, its driver door open, engine humming, as if inviting him to chase. Then the SUV sped off into the night, gravel flying. Ethan stood alone in the alley, breath sharp, hands shaking. Whatever was happening on his land wasn't just illegal. It was bigger. Organized. Protected. And now exposed. But the fight wasn't over. Not even close. HOA demanded I pave my dirt road, county said gravel is acceptable. The community center emptied slowly after the sheriff hauled away the suited men. Residents whispered in tight clusters, glancing nervously at Ethan as if he had cracked open a door no one wanted to know existed. By the time he stepped outside, dusk had bled into full night. The air felt colder. Thinner. Tom waited by Ethan's truck, leaning heavily on his cane. "You all right, kid?" "Define all right," Ethan muttered. Tom almost smiled. "Fair enough." They stood quietly, the night pressing in around them. The chaotic showdown, the classified hints, the attempted assault, it all felt surreal. But one thing gnawed at Ethan above everything else. Why his land? What Marlene said about a corridor. A facility, Ethan said. How long have you heard whispers about this? Tom exhaled slowly. Months. Maybe a year. Folks get quiet around here when big money shows up. Or government money. Same thing in my experience. Ethan stared at the dark road leading home. They're not finished. No, Tom said. Not by a long shot. 1. Aftermath. County investigation begins. The next morning, Sheriff Daniels drove out to Ethan's property with 2 deputies and a county inspector. They walked the land, studied the survey flags, and examined the dirt road that had triggered everything. The inspector tapped one of the orange stakes. This isn't ours. No agency markings. Whoever did this was trying to look official without being official. Can you shut the clearing down? Ethan asked. We can investigate it, the inspector said carefully. But if it's federally contracted, they'll claim immunity. Ethan felt anger simmer. They're hiding something out there. Maybe, the inspector replied. But we don't know what. Sheriff Daniels rested a hand on Ethan's shoulder. We'll keep watch on your property. You call me if you see that SUV again. Ethan nodded. But deep down, he already knew the sheriff was outmatched. This wasn't a small-town battle anymore. 2. A quiet day that doesn't feel quiet. The afternoon passed slowly. Too slowly. Ethan repaired a fence board. Fed the horses. Walked the perimeter of his land. But the forest felt different, like it was listening. Every rustle made him turn. Every distant crack of a branch made him stop. The air carried a feeling he couldn't shake. Someone's still out there. By sundown, he set up small motion cameras around his porch, near the tree line, and along the dirt road. Not paranoia, insurance. Then he sat at his kitchen table, replaying the meeting in his head. Marlene's final words echoed. We only need one more parcel. Yours. Why was this so essential? The land itself? The access road? The elevation? The privacy? He opened his laptop and pulled up old geological maps, county records, and topographic layouts. Something stuck out. His property sat directly above a natural limestone cavern system, one of the largest in the area. If someone wanted to hide underground infrastructure, this was perfect. Ethan leaned back, realization chilling his spine. They didn't want his land. They wanted under it. 3. Night, a fractured sense of safety. Around 10 p.m., Tom called. You up? Yeah. You need to know something. After the meeting, one of the deputies told me that the men they arrested were released. No charges. Ethan felt his stomach drop. How? Federal request. Ongoing national interest. That's what he said. Ethan stared out his window at the moonlit dirt road. They're clearing the board, he whispered. Resetting the pieces. Tom hesitated. You should think about getting out for a while. I'm not running. I know, Tom said. That's what scares me. After the call, Ethan locked every door, checked his cameras again, and sat awake by the window with a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. 4. The unexpected visitor. Near midnight, gravel crunched softly outside. Not fast. Not aggressive. Slow. Measured. Ethan's breath stuck in his throat. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped onto the porch, heart pounding. A lone figure stood at the end of the driveway. A woman. But not Marlene. This one wore a government windbreaker with no patch, her hands raised non-threateningly. Mr. Cole, she called quietly. I'm here to talk. Ethan didn't step closer. Who are you? Someone trying to keep this from escalating. Too late. She nodded slightly. Maybe. But you need to hear this. Ethan watched her carefully. The project behind your land is real, she said. And extremely classified. The people who approached you, they weren't supposed to. Then why impersonate the HOA? Why survey my land? Why threaten me? Because the contractor involved doesn't like obstacles. Am I an obstacle? You're more than that, she said. Your land sits on top of an access point. A geological feature we need. I know about the caverns. She stiffened. Then you understand the stakes. I understand someone tried to scare me into giving up my home. The woman exhaled. I came to warn you. The group working this project, they don't stop. And they don't forgive interference. Ethan's jaw tightened. Are you telling me to walk away? I'm telling you, she said quietly, that you're on a list now. And that list rarely ends well. A long, cold pause. Then she added, you won't see Marlene again. She's been reassigned. Ethan felt a chill. Reassigned meaning what? I think you know. The woman stepped backward. Protect yourself. And watch that road. She turned and disappeared into the woods, no vehicle, no backup, no explanation. Just gone. 5. The open-ended threat. Ethan stood in the dark long after she vanished. The woods hummed with the distant sound of generators, deep, faint, almost impossible to hear unless you knew what to listen for. His cameras blinked silently in the night. He walked to the edge of the road. The dirt felt colder than usual beneath his boots. Something flashed at his feet. A small metal tag, half buried. He picked it up. A newly placed survey marker. Pressed into its surface was a fresh stamp. Phase 2 approved. Ethan's breath caught. Phase 1 was the asphalt sample dumped by the roadside. Now Phase 2 was approved. Without him. Without consent. Without stopping. He looked out into the darkness, knowing. They were coming back. And next time, they wouldn't ask.